right.
One go. Let's see how loud it is.
All right. Well, we experimented today, man. It's all right.
Yeah. I'm Pat.
Hey, I'm Jeffrey.
What's new in the world, Jeffrey?
Well,
I haven't been watching the Twitter lately.
that's fine.
Yeah.
No, it's a matter of course of all things. And this has probably had more to do with what I was working out, but I actually watched some football today.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, some. I would not have put money on it that after week 1, the AFC West would be led by the Raiders because everybody lost except them.
That is kind of weird, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they played the Broncos today, right?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, so the Broncos lost.
The Chiefs lost.
I did not see that. So
Yeah, that was Thursday, and the Chargers.
Was that Thursday?
Lost. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I did watch that one.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's that. The Patriots looked okay. They lost, but most of what they had was working. It was down to one interception, and that made all the difference. And aside from that, there were just like a whole bunch of like fucking like loser NFC games and shit on. So I don't
Yeah, so I got
that.
the YouTube TV, man. It's kind of picky about what it shows me.
Yeah.
So I do get the local game though. So I did get the Nebraska game yesterday. It was on at 10
how was that?
It was on at 10 o'clock in the morning, so I didn't see it. So yeah, that's
okay.
before, especially on Saturday. Yeah, we don't get up at 10. So I don't go ride my mountain bike somewhere or something.
I gotta make the most out of my weekend.
Yeah.
Just
Gotta hit the headwaters by 5 a.m., man, so that we can bike our way back down the gorge on the way back. So, it's always better if you get your hang gliding out before the sun comes out, because you need the lift, man.
Oh, it's crazy, dude. Like, I've been putting in like 20 extra hours a week so I could buy that Sea-Doo.
Right, yeah.
I got that Sea-Doo to go on the lake, man.
Go on Lake Pueblo. The lake that murders its occupants frequently.
Oh, the reservoir too.
That's it.
Yeah.
They call it they've called it Lake Pueblo for like 20 years now, but I will forever know it as Pueblo Reservoir.
Yeah.
It's the same thing though, man, but every goddamn week, like this time of year, I do get the Pueblo paper.
You do?
I do. Yeah.
Paper?
No.
Oh.
I pay for it.
Oh, okay.
So it's on my phone.
Oh, all right.
And sure as shit, if somebody did die again on that lake, man, things got like more bodies than parts of Jersey.
Hey, shit, man. Has Pueblo Reservoir shown up on like Forensic Files or?
I don't know. I don't watch Forensic Files.
Yeah.
So I'd ask you that, man. So maybe you got a Pueblo Reservoir like transcription. Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought your wife watched all the wife killing shows.
Not anymore, man. She grew out of
Done
that.
with that? Okay.
Yeah, she grew out of that probably like 10 years ago.
Well, good for her.
Whenever she stopped being a prosecutor, so not quite 10 years. So.
No, I've seen one in Colorado, and of course we have the famous one. We have the super famous one that Will and I know about from.
Which one is that?
The guy that from Anadarko that put his wife and kid in the oil tank in the oil.
Oh, right.
I can't remember his name, but that dude is loathed. He's well known.
Didn't he die? Did he commit suicide?
I don't know. I don't remember the whole story
know.
on this, but that one is still famous. Chris something, I think.
Yeah.
His name is.
So there's that one, and then there was the other one that's down in, like, I can't remember. It's either down by Guffey or something like that with the guy who, or no, it's way out west. With the guy who, his wife went for a jog in like a mountain, very kind of remote kind of place.
Is this the one that they thought like got killed by a Yeti?
Well, that's what they were saying for a while, but it turned out it was the guy.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe I am thinking of the same one. Where did
We've had a couple like that.
yeah, didn't like the Ramsey, didn't that wasn't that in like Boulder?
John Benet Ramsey, yeah,
Yeah.
that was in Boulder.
Yeah. So we've got a few.
Got a couple here and there, yeah. I mean, most of ours get solved though, man. So,
Well,
at least that I can think of. I mean,
and that's the thing. Most of the ones that I do, they're all solved.
well, not that one, John Benet Ramsey.
I mean, it's. I don't want to talk on that.
Well, I don't know anything about it anymore. It was so fucking long ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like talking about, like, the Unabomber or something.
Right.
It's like, oh, yeah, that guy.
Strangely prophetic manifesto he was writing.
It's also full of lunacies.
Did I say I agree
Right,
with it? You misunderstand me, sir. I'm not. The only man I sympathize with is Killdozer. That's.
Oh, Killdozer? I know all about Killdozer, man. There you go. We had that here in this town, too.
Well, not in this particular town, but this.
No, it was up in west of Denver by Winter Park. I can't remember the name of the town.
Yeah, he's like the one lunatic that I sympathize with.
Kind of, man. I mean, but if you go into the whole backstory of like everything that he had been doing for years, he's fucking crazy. So, and his whole thing was based upon he didn't want to pay for, a line to run the poop out of his place.
Yeah, but there was some really ticky-tack shit going on.
There
with
was some
him.
ticky-tack shit, but, I mean, you can't take your poop and, like, put it in a bucket and then huck it into your neighbor's, like, ditch. So, yeah. That is part of the story.
I'm not going to fight you on
that. Yeah, I'm not part of the story.
Because, listen, Patrick, so, I mean, when it comes down to the ends of things, the bottom line is when you basically, invent the Killdozer, right?
Right.
You've already shown that your rationality is in question, right?
Oh, clearly, yeah.
Now, the events, leading up to it, yes, it is debatable to me. And I'd have to grab the full listing of this, but every time I read it, I'm like, yeah, he's kind of right. But then there's also the other side. It's like, clearly wrong.
Yeah. So there's a documentary on it I watched. There's a book on it that I read.
Yeah?
So the book is actually really good. So
Was it funny?
it kind of is because the guy who wrote it was like one of the targets of this dude.
Ah, okay.
He was the guy who wrote for the local paper. And so
and
so it's,
but he's a little bit biased though.
He is, but he gives a complete accounting of the entire thing. So, because he's got all the records, he's got access to all the people. So, I don't know. I think he plays it kind of straight. And he's not like, the guy in the town that this guy wants to kill those.
No.
Yeah, so. Right. So, there's actually a really good YouTube video on it, too, that I saw a long time ago. It was done by this guy who plays a lot of city skylines, and so he actually created the whole town.
Really?
Yeah, it was funny, man. It was funny. He created the whole town, and then he did this entire thing where he was explaining, like, okay, so these are the zoning laws here. Okay, this is why you can't do this. So, and it was kind of interesting. He made it a little bit funnier than anybody else. So. Well, the guy who wrote the book, he was pretty funny too, and he kept talking about this guy. He was just that guy who lived at the end of town, who'd come in and fuck up every meeting. So, and having a guy like that I work with right now,
Really?
yeah. So every time we have our monthly powwow, it's like, God damn, I hope that fucker's not there. So just because we never get anything done, he makes the same point over and over and over again, thinking that if he keeps repeating the same point, we're going to start to believe him. So when actually it's like, bro, you're wasting our time, man. So stop trying to convince us of this thing. We don't buy it. So
Well, I guess that's my question. Does he have a valid point?
He thinks he does.
Well,
So
I'm not asking whether he thinks he does.
I don't think he does.
I'm asking
Yeah,
your analysis.
I'm telling you. So it definitely affects him. All right. The direction that we're going is away from what he does. So it's like you're not gonna have a job here in a little bit. Okay, but you got to look at the numbers, man. This is still a little bit of a business. So I'm sorry, man. We can't be doing your stuff. So anyway,
No, and I understand that for privacy's sake, you probably shouldn't go further.
no, I don't want to.
But that being said, yeah, I get it. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to see their speciality or whatever go away. It's just a question of why do you think that it's the institution's job to cater to you?
Yeah, yeah. That's the part he doesn't get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, I get it. It sucks. And maybe again, I don't know the details. Maybe it is that the field that he's doing is a little bit more alive somewhere else.
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
well, and it's kind of it's a thing that you don't need to go to a 4-year university to get.
Okay.
And so people
Yeah.
are not doing that anymore.
There you go.
So, which is
All right.
smart on their part because they don't have to do it that way. So,
Absolutely.
you don't have to pay
Yeah.
for all these bullshit like lit credits and stuff. Yeah. So- or history credits. There we go.
No, it's fine. I had nothing but lit credits, but that was the degree.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was kind of the same.
Well, on your first trip, I didn't keep going, so
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I only got the one and I stopped. That was okay.
Yeah, but he's just kind of that guy. And so this Killdozer guy was kind of that guy too, but he could weld really well. So,
Darn right he could.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they did the whole thing on how the cops kept trying to get into it, over and over. They couldn't do it. Crushed like a fucking road grader,
Yeah.
and then it just dies in the stupidest, like, wah wah kind of way when it drives into something he didn't know there was a basement there. So it's like, well, that's what's problem when you actually slack on like fucking 50 extra tons of concrete and steel
Exactly.
into this thing. That was pretty amazing that he actually had like little cameras pointing out of it, so he never had to stick his head out of it.
Genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's obviously a very clever dude. He just didn't want to pay for his sewer lines.
I understand.
Yeah.
All right, I understand. I like I said, I do still sympathize with the guy.
Yeah.
He's not right. He's not completely wrong.
No, he's not completely wrong. He's just there are more productive ways to handle this. So,
Well,
especially since he sold the property for like 10 times what he paid for it.
I know.
And then the guy's like, well, I'll buy it back from you, and then I'll put the shit in. And he's like, well, now it's worth 3 times as much. So, it's like, all right, man. You're just going to be that guy, huh? Yeah, but it was this funny thing that he actually went down the main street, and if a restaurant was like rude to him, he'd bulldoze their trees. But then if somebody was nice, he'd get back out into the road. So
See, that's what I'm talking about.
It's kind of weird.
Where, yeah, that's where clearly, again, it's like a misunderstood artist. It's
yes, man, if you put a bulldozer in a fucking library. What is it? It's art.
Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to think if we have any other infamous. I mean, Colorado stuff. Obviously, we have Columbine.
Oh yeah.
We
The Aurora shooting
and the Aurora shooting, but the Columbine thing, we really took charge and led the way in school shootings, in mass shootings in schools.
I think that's the only one we've really had. It's just we set the bar really high.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. And there was so much controversy, around it.
A lot. Yeah.
With the music and the video games.
Oh yeah. And the notebooks.
And the notebooks.
Yeah,
and
full
the
of death metal lyrics.
yeah. And the trench coats.
The trench coats.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And the the weird like, do you believe in God angle?
Right.
Um,
I do remember that.
yeah.
I remember there was a really creepy movie that came out like maybe 2 years afterwards. It was told from those guys' perspective.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was hard to find because it was really disturbing. So
Was it
yeah,
any good?
it kind of was. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, they kind of like overplayed it. I don't know, man. Maybe a little bit because they had like these scenes where they're like, "Oh, it's time for lunch. Let's open up our fruit roll-ups now." You know, and it was kind of
What?
yeah, I know. It was like, all right, so you're putting a little bit more emphasis on the cold calculating cunningness here than I think was actually the case, but
Wait,
who knows?
the fruit roll up angle, was this meant to be like a like some kind of like humanizing event, or was
No,
this like?
no, it was supposed to show how detached they were from what it was they were actually doing. Yeah.
Oh, I see. I see.
No,
Okay,
no, no. It
okay.
wasn't like, oh man, I love fruit roll-ups, don't
Yeah.
you? You know? Maybe I should talk to my mom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. Okay, so it was okay.
No, it was designed to depict them as, completely merciless, inhuman.
Just total sociopaths. Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So, and my understanding is that their case is much, much more complicated than that. So,
To my understanding, I mean, it was analyzed around the clock there for a minute,
it was
especially here. But I mean, the what was it? Harris and Klebold, I think were their names.
Harris and Klebold, yeah.
Yeah, Dylan
Dylan,
Harris and Eric Klebold, I think
yeah,
were
I
their
think you're
names.
right.
And it was something that sort of raised it raised the flag on like bullying. You know,
It did.
sort of this idea that you create these monsters, and there was sort of a weird undertone of that side part of like people getting what they deserve, which was really
That
bizarre,
was kind of weird. Yeah, I do remember that.
take on that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, the stuck-up bitch who, want to turn, like, wouldn't want to give them a second look, got blasted away.
Well,
And it was
and
kind of
they
like,
were,
oh,
yeah,
yeah, and the douchebag jock who,
yeah.
pushed him down the stairs kind of thing. It was kind of like, actually, I don't know if that's really part of the story.
Well,
I mean, it makes for good fiction, but I don't know if that's actually a piece of it. So,
I mean, I could make the argument that number one, I mean, you shouldn't be doing that anyway, right?
right,
That's
yeah.
and I suppose on a, I don't know, like a biblical level, there's a little bit of like you reap what you sow, but that's not what this is.
No, and
This,
God
this
makes
is
it fairly clear in that book that that's up to him, not you. So, yeah.
yeah, in all things, yes, yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty clear on that one.
Not your problem,
Not
guys.
your problem, buddy.
Yeah.
I got your back, brother. Don't worry.
Tell you what, man, you do right,
You do right.
and
Yeah.
we'll straighten this out later.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're talking about some of the, fucking like horrors of the Old Testament, where you're like, well, this hardly seems fair.
Oh, yeah. No. Man, I haven't read that thing in a long time.
I have problems with it. I have problems with the Old Testament, the continuity,
I think it's impossible not to have problems with it.
the cast of characters, and the nature of God Himself in the Old Testament is problematic. I mean, just this. There's certain parts where like this hardly seems fair. I'm like Moses,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It's just like, I told you to hit the rock,
Yeah.
right? And because you messed this up here, you're not getting in.
Yeah. 40 years.
It's like, really? You can't have any clemency on this?
Yeah.
There's no like last minute pardon. Like
There's no appeal process.
there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing.
Hey, can I come back next Thursday?
The very nature of the story of Job is entirely.
I don't think I've read that since high school, to tell you the truth. That one I know I have not read in a long time.
It's so antithetical to the nature of.
It depends, man. I mean, like I've had an argument with many of my more religious friends about certain things. It's like it is, like reflective of the times in which it was written. So, I mean, I'm sorry, ancient Mesopotamia is like further than Detroit, from in terms of like
Explain.
how well I understand it. Yeah. Drop me off in Detroit. I could probably find my way out of the city. You drop me off in, 2500 BC Mesopotamian. Yeah, I'm gonna die so quickly. So,
Well, we
yeah.
all would.
Yeah.
Fucking Bear Grylls would die there. I mean, this is
Fucking that
yeah,
guy.
I mean,
Oh my god.
what did you see him again?
Yes, I saw this whole
Doing what?
takedown on the holy shit. He did way worse stuff than that.
Wait, what did I miss?
I don't know. It was just this article the other day that was talking about like the biggest cheaters in television over the years.
Okay, I'm listening.
And
Talk
so
to me,
they did all this shit on Bear Grylls, man. So they were talking about it's not just the hotels, okay? So it was, like he's eating whatever the crew eats every single day. This is all set up. He chewed through crew members because they were like, this is bullshit. And so he would fire them, instantaneously. Never ask him back, and then turn around and try to refuse to pay them. So,
Wow.
Yeah, there was all kinds of bad shit. And it was like, what an asshole. I mean, there's like the whole thing with the horses, and the guy who was like a trainer, he's like, yeah, he asked me to bring those.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's like if it was a wild horse, it'd look wild. So
It would act wild.
It would act wild.
Yeah.
It would not be nicely groomed because that's how I treat my horses, and those were mine. Yeah. So this is all these little things that were just terrible. They did this whole thing where he's going through the lava fields in Hawaii. And so
I remember that
there's
one,
this
yeah.
one where he's like, these are really dangerous, crossing these like lava tunnels and stuff. And so he's poking it with the stick to see if it's solid, and then jumps over it. And then immediately you get a jump cut after that one because a fucking parking lot right there. So where all their crew cars are parked. So, and then it's in this like crevice that's off the parking lot. Okay. And then, it's like, as long as this table, but 20 yards that way, it closes up. And so you can just walk around the entire motherfucker. And so there's like all these little things. It's like, this is where this was shot. It was like, that's not near as remote or dangerous as you said it was, Bear Grylls. So,
Right. Well, that's the visitor center. They have running water and bathrooms over there.
Yeah, well, the one where he was on a deserted island, he was on Maui. So
No shit.
yeah.
Well, I remember the one that really got me, and I think this is the one that like got you because you recognized the train.
Oh yeah.
Where at the end he happened to see this passing train go by and he jumped on the back.
Yeah.
And you're like, I know.
That's the Trans-Siberian Railroad. Yeah, you're not where you said you were, sir. Yeah. So
Yeah, look, and here's the thing is all right, so I can pick on him for this stuff because it was my perception and how it was presented, right? Now that I know way more about television and how absolutely fraudulent it is, look, man, I can't hold him that accountable for doing what everybody was doing. Look, the whole premise, the whole reason that anybody actually got into Survivor in the first place, right, was because we were all under the impression, like, oh, are these guys going to die and eat each other's corpses?
Yeah, at any time. They get eaten by alligators,
But that wasn't the nature of it at all. It's just like, go here under these very supervised conditions, right? Participate in these corny-ass challenges.
Yeah, so they did that with Bear Grylls too, and these guys who are writing this article were ripping him a new one about that too, because he did this like Survivor Island challenge with like 10 other nobodies.
Did he?
They were not nobodies. They were fucking like army rangers and shit.
Oh,
yeah, and like consultants who had helped him with this stuff before.
Oh, really?
They're like, yeah, but before you were a consultant on badass survival techniques, you were a plumber. So just tell everybody you're a plumber. So yeah, it was just
okay.
I know you've seen that.
Of course I have. No, and look, this has infiltrated every aspect of every one of these goddamn shows. Look, the show that I hate working on now more than anything is Chopped. I hate Chopped. Chopped is because you can tell basically what the producers have done here because they always say the same fucking thing. Like whenever they jump into it, it's like I can tell you who's going to be on this show. I'm like, all right. Well, you're going to have...
Weasley white guy.
I don't want to say necessarily Weasley, but he's going to be a little bit he's going to be a little bit overconfident. They're always going to sell him as a little bit overconfident. It's like, I know I'm the best, which is why I want to prove I'm the best on this show.
Right.
Then you're going to have, right, you're going to have some kind of...
Queso fresca.
Well, and that in the man is going to be, it's either going to be black or some kind of islander or some kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
You're going to have some kind of weird lesbian, and you're going to have some kind of
this one's got extra tattoos. Perfect.
Exactly, because I mean, if she's lesbian, she can be white, right?
Right.
And that's fine because that still counts as diverse. And then you're going to have some kind of like sassy woman. And where that sassiness comes from or how it manifests is totally up to you.
It can be anywhere,
Right? She can be a spicy Latina, or she can be black, right? However you're going to do this, right? The white guy's never going to win, okay? Because he'd never do, right? And every time they interview these people, right, they're going to ask them about their cooking thing, or it's like, where's your cooking come from? And every time they're going to say, I really want to represent my culture.
Right. Except for the white guy. He's like, yeah, I've worked in, kitchens for 14 years. I've been protecting my recipes. I studied under this guy. Blah, blah, blah. It doesn't fucking matter.
Well, no, it's not even that doesn't fucking matter, because you're right. It doesn't. Yeah. But the whole point of this is, like, okay, why? There's just this thing of like, I want to represent my cultures, the culture of my food. It's something that my grandmother taught me. It's like, I remember, cooking with my grandmother when I didn't have any friends. I mean, this is the shit where, like, every single time it happens, you're like, what obligation do you have? It's like, so because you are from Malaysia, are you obligated to only cook Malaysian food? Are you, because you come from some island, right? Or you come from, it's like, oh, you must represent.
Have you ever had some of, like, must representing Norway or something on there? So,
that would be white, so no.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and also disgusting, but still.
I'm sure there's some form of, like, Norway food that's...
I'm sure there's some that's fine.
Like, Norway McDonald's is not made with fish.
Right, yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, and lie.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm so sick of this fucking show where this is what it's become. Either that's the direction of the producers, where they're like, boy, people really glom onto this, or they're basically in the position where they're like they're basically doing their engineering, their version of this, where they're saying, well, we think...
Are they still producing right now?
Oh, yeah.
Is that allowed if they're not part of the strike and whatnot?
Oh, well, no, because those aren't union jobs.
Got it, okay.
No. Those reality TV is anything but union.
So it's kind of having an upswing right now, huh?
It is. And, I was reading some of the bitchy-ass comments of like... guys, I think I'm at the end of my rope here. It's like I'm living in my car,
Oh, as a guild member?
Yeah. I'm like, well, then fucking go back to work. Actually, let me put it to you this way. Okay, so take your hat off, put it in your hands, walk back to your owners, apologize. And go back to work.
Or go get a real job. So,
that's the other thing. Yeah.
Let's go get a real job. So, you can start a podcast.
Yeah, I guess that's the funny thing here is it turns out that a lot of Patreons right now aren't exactly getting these guys paid enough to still stay on the picket lines here.
Patreon kind of blew up. So has Substack in some respects, man. So
what happened?
Well, nothing. There's a natural limit to how much content you're willing to pay for. So, you can like support like 2 or 3 guys and not feel too bad. But once you start getting like Patreon bills for like $30, you're like, man, I need to call some of these guys.
Oh,
yeah. So, like I'm literally down to my last guy on Patreon. They're quitting at the end of this month.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which I'm sad about, but it is what it is. That's okay. The one dude that I like on there, he's actually much more active on Twitter now.
Oh, okay.
So, but anyway.
Yeah.
But he's been very pro Twitter ever since Elon Musk bought it. So, but he
As well, he should be.
no, yeah,
It's a better place
he
for.
likes to fight. He likes
Yeah.
to fight people. So, um, but then I was looking even at my Substack, and I'm like, all right, so there's like 3 guys on here I really like. All right, so I'm willing to kick down $5 a month piece. That's fine.
Sure.
Okay, but then I see other people who are all like, this is really good content. It's like, well, you can get the full version. It's like, fuck off.
We will listen to this ad free.
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
That's good.
I skip past where you talk about Raid Shadow Legends anyway. So
Right,
it's
yeah,
fine.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or NordVPN.
Look, I am absolutely not picking on these people for trying to make a living. That's not what I'm trying to do.
I see
right?
people who are trying to do it who don't have the chops to do it.
And that's fine.
Yeah. So, it's like, no, man, you need to run your free content for a while. Get a few guys who really want to give you money. And then let them, So don't be asking the rest of us because, quite honestly, you're just not quite there yet, dude.
Well, when it comes down to it, it's a question of what exactly are you doing for me in this position, right?
Exactly.
And obviously this is not something that we expect payment for.
Lord, no. Yeah.
And on top of that, we don't have costs. So the thing here is, like, I was contemplating this the other day as I was eating my Cheerios, right? And I was just thinking of myself as like really like dog shit royalty for a second, because I was like, all right,
dog shit royalty? What do you mean?
yeah,
by
well,
that?
because I was like, all right, so I'm eating right now, and if I demanded like personalized entertainment, like a king,
Oh,
right?
you could get it. Yeah.
Right, I'd be like, oh, okay, so when it comes to the narrowness of my entertaining, you're doing a one-person show for me. And at that point,
Yep.
yeah, it's like, sure, I should be paying for this because you're doing this at the expense of reaching a larger audience.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Totally understand that. But at the same time, yeah, you're right. There's a part of, okay, well, you jumped into this. Nobody's great at this their first time. They can't be. This is something that you practice. This is something that you have to work on, and expect to fail. Expect to learn.
Yeah.
Right. And if you get blown up your first time or something, or you're like, I'm unhappy with it, like, that's fine.
Yeah. No, and I mean that's a hard lesson for some people to learn too, man. So I mean, I've
Some
seen
people just don't.
some people don't.
hate it.
Yeah, that's true. So I've seen enough people on the YouTubes over the years, even guys who started out, the channels are smaller than mine. Maybe they're in the same realm of like. See, and I'm very narrow in what I do. So people ask me all the time, "Well, you should play this game." I was like, "Nah, I don't. Nah, there's plenty of people out there to play that. Go watch them. It's cool." So I was like, "You'd be really good at this." I'd be like, "Nah, I'm not gonna do that either." So I'm gonna keep in this very, very narrow lane that I've got over here. And even after I got to the point in time where, everybody's like, "Oh, Pat's gonna hit the monetize button," I was like, "No, I'm not," because the last thing I want is you guys breathing down my ass next week, because I'm not gonna put one out this week because I don't feel like it. So yeah, that's the way it's gonna be. And so then I see these guys who do all the things where, okay, I'll play 3 different games and, I'll keep this going. I'll post my weekly schedule and we'll do super stickers and all this shit and stuff. And man, they flame out hard after a little bit. It's absolutely, it's like, okay, so I built an entire audience based upon this and I can't play this anymore. Or you guys stopped watching, which is what usually happens. So because your audience, it always changes over time.
It has to.
It has to. It absolutely has to. So, people get frustrated with that, and then that's when you start getting the snark and the, like almost the angry gaming or whatever.
Yes.
Or, yeah, exactly. And
With the spiteful, the part where it's look, the side story of this, and you're absolutely right here, is, I mean, you can look at basically like people who had an opportunity and they flopped it. Why?
Yeah.
Because, maybe they got pushed by the algorithm a long time ago, right? They had a video that went huge, right?
Yeah.
And then none of their other ones take off, right? Because you have no idea how to capitalize on this.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you have those people that get kind of like greasy about that, where it's Same thing. It's like, where'd my audience go? What? It's not. It's not enough. I'm putting this out here for you guys.
Right, yeah.
Well,
But yeah, I've seen people do that on live streams where it's kind of like, oh, we only got this many people on tonight. I'm not going to play that much longer. It's like, fuck off. So then don't. Get off now. Stop wasting my time. So, kind
or
of thing.
take a look at the people who did show up and say, like, actually, let me go to put on a good show for you tonight.
Yeah, sure. Or,
And-
just bullshit with them, too. That's fine, too.
Yeah. Or at the end of it, then you could say, like, you can be nice. You can ask and say, like, hey, share with a friend or something like that. Whatever. But, I mean, you're there. You have people that are a captive audience, so have some fun. Enjoy what you're doing when you're doing something like this.
Yeah, and if you don't enjoy it, don't do it, man. So go find something else. Yeah, go find something else.
Read a fucking book. Just do something
touch
for
grass.
you. Yeah, do something for you. Explore some of the outdoors. There's tons of
There's
it.
a lot of it.
Yeah. Even if you live in a city, you can find, nature, right?
Oh, yeah.
You just sit there and say, like, okay, you're paying $5,000 a month for what?
Right, yeah, exactly.
I get something out of it.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I've seen a few people in, like, all different realms trying to make it big. So, like, I've been watching Taibbi for probably, like, 5 or 6 years now. So, and I've watched him bounce between, like, 2 or 3 different things before he finally sat where he is now. And the last show that he was on, his co-host was so fucking desperate for them to make it big.
Really?
Yeah, and he's just like, after he left Rolling Stone, because the podcast was through them, he's like, I'm going to go on my own. And then she just, like, it was like 2 days later, I checked out her shit twice, and I was like, unsub. It's unwatchable now.
Who was that? Is she still poking around now?
Yeah, she pokes around with that guy that I was talking shit about a couple of weeks ago. The Canadian dude. I don't remember. The guy who can't say anything nice about America. What the fuck is his name?
Oh, and he's Canadian?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck him.
Well, his dad is famous. I can't remember. Aaron Mate. There we go. Aaron Mate.
What's his dad famous for?
I don't remember. He's like some kind of like doctor or something thing, who like I don't know. But he's a journalist, and so he was the one like 2 weeks ago when was it PayPal or somebody went after, and it was a GoFundMe with the Gray Zone got fucked. He was one of the guys who got fucked by that. Now, I don't like that, the Gray Zone gets defunded, but I don't mind that guy gets funded.
You're touching on a real... You're touching on a real delicate spot for me here because, Patrick is...
not morally consistent, but it did feel kind of good.
No, as somebody who is like a diehard dyed-in-the-wool free speech absolutist,
right.
like, and I will say this, for the 50th time, it's like, just spout your stupid Nazi shit and let us laugh at you.
Yeah, exactly.
Just put it out in the air, like those fucking goons in Florida that were clearly fed.
What is this?
Oh my god, there were I can't remember what they were called. These were guys in red shirts and swastikas, and I shit you not. This was the thing, man. And they're coming out there as hardcore Nazis. People have such distinctive...
What was this, like a rally or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The guys have such distinctive tattoos. It's like, well, I actually recognize you. You were in Ukraine, right? You were part of the battalion, right? So you got these guys out here, and they're presenting as Nazis, and you're just looking at their clothes. I'm like, you guys don't have a dog hair on any of them. Like this, like, you still have the wrapper on yours. I'm like, this is the fakest shit.
Take the tags off, man.
I was like, this is the fakest. I was like, well, I gotta return this. Like, mom's gonna be mad. This is the
stupid.
fakest shit that I've ever seen. But ultimately, it's like, yeah, if you honestly believe this crap, go ahead and air it out, so we can go ahead and
we'll laugh at you.
Yeah. Don't make them actually seem dangerous by saying, well, we have to clam this up. I was like, no, this is fucking...
Well, that was the whole thing with Tiki Torch Nazis. They were so ridiculous. So that, it was just like, okay, yeah, this is obviously dumb.
if not fake and gay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, yeah, come on, guys.
Yeah. No, it was just like, I know you guys got those at Lowe's. So
I know.
like you're
Yeah, I know
really, I
those.
mean, could you actually get to the point in time where you were like advertising your like the fact that you're from the suburbs
Come on.
a little bit
I
more
know.
than by going to Home Depot and getting the fucking tiki torches. So
Get
yeah.
the fuck out of here. Now, and yeah, the same thing applies here when I look at things like, GoFundMe and stuff, and they decide that, no, we're going to pull the plugs on these based on our, political views. I'm like, no, you shouldn't do that.
No,
you shouldn't. As long as that doesn't break the law,
Yeah.
you shouldn't do this. So there's a party, the same thing where PayPal was pulling the plug on certain things. Banks. It was like, how the fuck can you do this?
Were American banks here, or were they just Canadian banks?
American banks did it too.
When?
They've been doing it to various, right-wing guys for a while.
Have they?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? How does that work? Do you just say, I refuse to bank with you?
Yeah.
You don't take their money, though.
No.
Yeah, okay.
You close their account.
Yeah, okay.
So you can't
Yeah.
bank with us anymore. Which
I
is
wonder if like there's a limit on that. Like, could Bank of America tell you that?
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Patrick, what I can tell you here is, and this actually struck my chord today just because I used to work in the industry, Patrick. Okay. So you and I have talked about, this Hunter Biden thing and all this other, fun stuff, right?
We were supposed to get new charges this week, weren't we?
Yeah, and this is the same kind of, like, why am I surprised at that hypocrisy bullshit? But it is what it is. The thing that I came across here that, well, let me find this. I bookmarked it here. That really, brought my piss to a boil, and people were like, "Oh no, it's not a big deal." There's no evidence here. So this is the one that gets me is, all right. So 6 banks, including J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, submitted over 170 suspicious activity reports to the Treasury Department regarding the Biden family.
Hunter in particular?
Well, this all involves their involvement in money laundering, human trafficking, and tax fraud. And this
I haven't
also...
heard the human trafficking part.
I'll wait and see on this one here. But yeah, the thing is, like, the SARs were a big deal.
Yeah, what's an SAR?
Those are the suspicious activity reports.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was, these were the things that we were required to do. I didn't have to do it because I didn't do it in person or that kind of thing. I didn't have to file any of those things because of the amount, right? But the fact that you filed over 170 of these things and people are still like, there's nothing suspicious going on here. Like,
well, the IRS certainly disagrees with that. So,
yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And basically, like, moving money, basically the same days where money would be wired to here, and then here in the same day. I'm like, guys.
Well, and a lot of that came out in Panama Papers too. So, but I think that the new wrinkle that I saw was the laundering money by loans that don't need to be repaid. So, which is a clever way to do it. That's a very classic Russian way to do it. So,
yeah,
but
yeah, they're not exclusive to it, but yeah, it's a favorite. Yeah, it's got history. But yeah,
they're gonna get them though, man. They're gonna get them.
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on right now saying that there is more and more indicators that the party is closing ranks, and they're saying that they don't want the big guy to run.
I've heard that. I don't know though, man. When Chuck Schumer says it, then they'll start to buy it. So
he's your litmus test.
He's kind of the guy, yeah. And especially, he's got to be glasses down on that day. So, if he's glasses up, then he's full of shit. But if it's glasses down, it's fucking serious because he did the reading. So yeah, when he comes out and says something about that, they are rapidly running out of time. Because first primaries are what? In February, if I'm not mistaken, late January. It should be Iowa. Even though the Democrats are trying to move Iowa.
I thought they did move Iowa.
I think Iowa told them to fuck off. So I said we're going to hold it anyway. So
is that something they can do?
Well, yeah, I mean, the local party can boss the national party around on that shit. So they decide when they do their own thing. There is no authority granted to a political party in any part of the Constitution. So,
Pat, you got to help me out with this, okay? Because this is a side thing. Did you read about the mayor in Albuquerque?
I did, and I thought it was fascinating that the police chief said, okay, I'm not going to do anything about it. Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah, and so did the sheriff down there. So at first I thought it was just a open carry. And okay, so there are places that have open carry bans. Those have been shown to be constitutional. So, especially in public places. So, like if I own a liquor store, I don't have to let you in if you're open carry. So, right. If I'm like a municipality and we have a museum, I don't have to, like, we're an airport. I don't have to let you open carry in the airport, right? So, but then when she said concealed carry too, I was like, oh, that's not going to fly. So, and I mean, Albuquerque, like, yeah, okay, you take a look at New Mexico and Colorado. They're blue states now, but they're a different kind of blue.
Yeah. No, well, that would be to say that if you were to take a Coloradan and a San Franciscan, side by side, and put them on the operating table and say, like, well, I got to dissect each one to see what's...
This one's got an extra finger. This one has a cow heart.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, we got to see what's the difference between this and an Albuquerque Democrat.
Yeah, you could take a Boulder Democrat and put him next to a California or a San Francisco Democrat. They would also be different. So, I mean, Boulder gets a lot of shit in the state, but I lived there for 2.5 years, man. That ain't that bad.
They're just people.
They're just people.
They're a little bit like, and there's nothing wrong with them. It's just I don't even want to say it's like a hive mind. That's not even accurate. Like,
they're not San Franciscans.
No. California this week, they passed into law that during divorce proceedings, did you see this one too?
No.
Where during divorce proceedings, where they can use it against you if you don't hold gender affirming beliefs.
Okay, what are they going to hold against you?
Basically, this is something.
Oh, so like if you're getting a divorce and your kid, and you're like, I don't believe. Okay,
that seems
insane,
incredibly illegal.
Well. Supreme Court's gonna be busy the next couple of years.
Well, yeah,
they're gonna be busy.
I mean, that's insane to me. I'm like, how the fuck can you make that determination? But yeah, and they decided they're gonna have a trans history month in California. So
have at it, guys.
Like,
knock yourselves out. There was a good piece of news that I did see coming out of the courts earlier. What the fuck?
What's this? The one about basically
what the fuck was it? Restricting the government from talking to social media companies.
Yep.
That got upheld.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It did.
That got upheld.
As it should.
Yeah, so it doesn't even need to go to the Supreme Court now. So, yeah. They're like, yep, good job. Appeal it to us. We'll go ahead and slap it down. One less thing we don't have to listen to.
Yeah, that's again. It's a weird thing where, like, how did this even come to me? Like, you should know better,
right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And it specifically listed the offices that were explicitly barred from doing this. And it was like the FBI, the CDC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
the other one was the FDA, and then there was another one in there. It was like the Commerce Department. I was like, what the fuck is that? Okay, whatever. So it did not bar the State Department from doing so, though, because it said the State Department should still be allowed to, like, okay, all you guys in Hungary, you need to get the fuck out, kind of thing.
That's different.
That's different.
It is.
Yeah. And the other one was like the NOAA, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. They're like, no, it's cool if you tell people about hurricanes. It was just very specific. So about who could not do that. I think the FBI, the TSA, or the Homeland Security, Department of Fatherland Security, was on was on there.
Oh, that's making it in my regular rotation there, buddy. Thank you so much.
I've been using that for a while.
Okay.
It has no purpose other than it just made Mike suck. So, and that was the other thing, man. I was actually watching the Capitol riot and the Proud Boy guys. God. You know how they got that on there that high?
What with the RICO charges or what?
No, it has nothing to do with RICO. It's all fucking 9/11 stuff. So yeah. So there's all these tack-ons that they can do, and even the judge was like, "Well, I mean, not really terrorism." So he knocked down what they were asking for by half, and it's still like 17 years.
22 years.
22 years for that one guy.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even there.
No,
but he was the guy. Wasn't he the guy who was organizing like the safe houses with all the guns or something? That was one of them. So
him, okay, you could make.
I think that was Oath Keepers, though. I don't think that was the Proud Boys. So,
like, if you want to make the argument that you have to like hit him the worst, okay, but 22 years is absurd for this.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, well, and that's the thing is, you know, one of my non-towny lawyer guys was explaining that, and he's like, this is all provisions that go back to 9/11. So, and fucking Gitmo and stuff like that, and terrorism charges that you can throw on top of things. So when you're ever trying to do anything that's designed to attack an institution, so it's like, huh. So they can get like double charges on everything, man. And I was like, yeah, you know, when you're torturing fucking Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, we probably weren't really thinking about that.
No, I know we weren't. And also there was a sort of an understanding at that point where, yes, this was, pointed out to me here where we were sort of under the understanding that these were like temporary measures.
Yeah, but then they all got codified.
They sure did.
They sure did.
They sure did. Yeah.
Well, that's why Julian Assange is never going to get out of jail. So, you know, I mean, personally, I don't like the guy. But if you're a journalist, you should be able to publish that shit.
But that's what it's not a question about me liking the guy. Yeah. It's about what he's doing, right? In terms of information that's basically relevant to the American public.
It is, but he's not even a citizen, so
no, and that's the tough part.
That one's difficult. So like the Snowden one's a little bit more straightforward for me.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I've kind of turned on that guy the last couple of years a little bit.
Turned how?
He should have faced the music, man. So yeah, you know, hiding out in Russia and you know, trying to flee to China is a little sus when fucking Honduras is right there.
All right, I'm gonna have to award you that point. Yeah,
so he flew all around the world to try and get to a place that he could have flown this way to get to. So there's a little bit suspicious about that. So Ecuador.
Yeah, it's right there.
It is right there. Yeah.
No, man, it's wacky, and this is. So without being able to sort this out, I mean, the last thing that anybody wanted to hear this week, of course, was cackling hyena Harris fucking just, and she, it's just the more you see her, the more you realize like she just laughs when she doesn't know.
Yeah, she does. Yeah,
that's her thing. Is
God dang, someone else pointed that out a while back. It might have been you, but I think I heard that from somebody else. Say she'll laugh when she doesn't have an answer.
Yeah.
So every single time.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And you know who else used to do that?
I think that might have been Ben Shapiro pointed that out.
It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. The other person that used to do that was Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Because that was her thing. It's like, did you really kill that guy? That was so funny.
Kill the fuck out of him.
Oh my God, you've been throwing bodies in the tar pits.
That was your car.
Yeah, and that this week when she was saying it's like, oh, I'm ready to take over leadership.
Oh, that was cringe. I was
like,
oh. It was like, yeah. Well, if Joe Biden decides not to run and you decide to run, well, you might as well just like. I mean, I don't know, man. If I am a registered Democrat, but at that point in time, I'd be like,
You're writing it like Alfred E. Newman, man. You're in
yeah,
real trouble there.
I want FDR's corpse, please,
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's no fucking
You're
way.
voting for the estate.
Yeah, I want the estate.
The
Yeah,
estate of FDR.
yeah. No, man. I mean, because Gavin Newsom is terrible.
He said he wasn't running.
Yeah, well, that's smart. He's not dumb. He knows he can't win outside of that state. So,
To be fair, he shouldn't win that state.
well, I don't know. That state's not my business, man. I mean, it's,
It's not for us.
no, it's not for me. Yeah,
We're country mice.
yeah, country mice, not coastal mice.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, he said he wasn't gonna run.
Well, I mean, it's like if I was just going to do it strategically, and just think about it pure like Machiavellian this way, it'd be a good. If you're looking to rebuild the Democrat Party, this would be a good year to go down in flames so that you could actually get back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You just call this as like, look, we're gonna win maybe 3 games this season.
Right.
Well,
So I did see a breakdown on the Senate. They actually look really good in the Senate this year or next year. So the seats that are coming up are ones that are held, even the ones in the red states that are held by blue guys. They're immensely popular blue guys. So like the one dude in Montana, and there's another one in Ohio or something that are coming up, and so they're looking pretty good to hold the Senate. But again, that's a year out, so who the fuck knows?
Pat, no, I'm fine when the houses are divided.
It actually works a little better. It seems to, at least.
I think it's supposed to, like, I think that was the general assumption was, like, when you put it in place, like, we can't say that it's supposed to be this way, but I think it's gonna be
It's
this
gonna
way.
be this way, yeah.
Right? No, Pelosi says she wants 2 more years, and...
But yeah, but... God, I thought she was donezo.
You would think.
I thought she retired, and said this was going to be her last term. I'm glad it doesn't look like the Democrats have much of a chance of taking the House. So
I don't think they will.
I don't think so.
I don't think
Yeah.
they will. I don't think there's any chance of that. As a matter of fact, if I'm going to say anything, Patrick, like what did we call it? Like the light stream, the like no tampon necessary red trickle.
I think Great Red Ripple.
Yeah. I honestly think that if there's going to be any big moves, it'll be on this election, because right now, like, what they say is like Biden is polling more unpopular than any president except for Jimmy Carter at this time in his presidency.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot that hangs on that. There's a lot that goes in conjunction with the presidential election. So,
Well, it's really early.
well, of
The thing
course,
that's
but-
different now than when Jimmy Carter was president, I saw a great article on this the other day, is that so there's a couple polling things that do a really good job because they kind of do like a checksum on the
Yeah?
polling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they'll say, okay, so how do you feel about Joe Biden? Positive, negative, whatever kind of thing. And a lot of people are really down on presidents. They're not necessarily up on Donald Trump, though.
Right.
But if you turn around and ask them, how's the country doing? A lot of people say it sucks. But then when you turn around and ask you, well, how's your life going? It's like the highest it's been in decades.
Which is bizarre.
It is. It's completely bizarre. And so there's a lot of people out there who I think it's just arena politics, man. So it's like, yeah, my team fucking sucks this year. It's like, well, did you make rent this month? They're like, oh, yeah, I'm good. 401k looks great.
But there are some. I mean, there are some numbers that are particularly troubling, though. Like, especially like when it came to, I didn't notice this, but basically when they showed like people buying houses, like it's low.
It's hard.
Like
Yeah.
they said, it's worse than 2008.
Yeah, but people aren't getting kicked out of their houses like they were. So, it's a little different. It's just that a lot of people are waiting to buy because they're waiting for interest rates to come down. I don't know if they're going to come down anytime soon. So
Why would they?
Well, and that's what Dave Ramsey says. He says you don't time the market when you're buying a house. You buy a house because you need a fucking house. So, So, and if you can afford it, you don't care if it's a 7% or a 5% mortgage because you're going to refi it anyway down the road. It's like you're literally talking about maybe 50, 60 extra bucks a month. It's like if that's your cut point on your margin,
right?
You shouldn't be buying a house.
Versus 2008, where yes, it was, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Because they were like, well, what I'm looking for is something in the low 200s. They're like, well, we're gonna sign you up for 4,
right? Yeah.
Like that comes when you open up the account.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of a balloon loan?
Sounds neat.
Yeah, it's great. So, especially in the beginning, you just refi it later. It's no problem. So,
do people do that all the time?
Yeah, you just need to work on your credit for a couple of years, and this is gonna help.
Matter of fact, tell you what, while you're here, why don't we get you a personal loan for a nice watch?
Yeah. How about a timeshare?
Yeah, dude, it's there are some concerning numbers, and you know what, I get it, and I can tell you that yes, the like purchasing power on a lot of things is way down. It really is. Like fucking groceries are expensive.
Groceries are expensive.
Gasoline is incredibly expensive.
Yeah, but I'm not convinced that it's not supposed to be expensive. So, we've had a good 10 years where we got cheaper and cheaper TVs, phones, all kinds of shit from China. And that's coming to an end. And so everything's getting more expensive now.
Couldn't have happened to a worse totalitarian shithole. To quote a great man I once knew, that's what you get.
That's what you get. You get a staple to the nuts. Yeah. Right to the nuts.
Fuck them, man. I'm sorry. Like, especially after that's what you get. Especially after 10 years of hearing day in and day out, like, guys, why does Detroit look like this when China's building cities of the future over here, right? Why don't you go ahead and see, like, oh my god, could you see what they're doing to these motorcycles? It's like, oh.
It's like, go move over there, dude. Go on. Have at it.
Yeah.
Have at it. I've been seeing some more stuff on that lately. Unfortunately, the China guys, you do get linked into some other channels here and there, and they're not as good as theirs, but some of them are kind of interesting. I was seeing this one the other day about these people who, it's the exact same thing going over there. It's like some kind of fucking socialist utopia, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, it's expensive over here. It's you got to pay to send my kid to school. I got to pay at the hospital before they treat me. He's like, car insurance here is a joke. So, yeah, it was just all kinds of shit. And it's like, yeah, come on back, dude. So, oh, wait, you're from Canada. Yeah, go back to Canada. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. So.
And, yeah, Canada, I understand, is as tyranny of the majority as it gets. Because, like, what the people say in the city goes.
Well, yeah, you've run into the one truly demonstrable flaw of a parliamentarian system, where it's majority, and then the majority gets to do everything. So yeah, it doesn't work like that here.
No, I mean we do have ways around it. Like again, I understand that there are things where, of course, I disagree with these things, and they came to a vote, but ultimately there's still there's a way around it. Mm-hmm. I mean, just as a side note, again, yeah, you're talking about the parliamentary system. I mean, one of the things that made me so proud of the British, and this is rare. Have you seen this where they've been tearing down all the cameras?
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay, so Climate Crazy London has implemented a rule here where every day that you drive on the roads with a car that is prior to 2006, older than 2006.
Oh, the model year?
Yep. You get charged, I think it's like £12.80, and they have cameras everywhere.
Oh, it's just like photocopying you?
Yep, to just get your plate. And so what the people of London have been doing has been like They're just pulling them down.
Oh, is this in London? This is in the countryside.
Yeah, this is in London.
Oh,
They are
okay.
just pulling the fuckers down.
Okay, that's a
And-
very British thing to do. Yeah.
Like you're going back to like Cromwell days and stuff. You're.
Hey, man,
I mean, you are. There is a.
There's a special thing about people from that country
Yeah.
where there's a line once you cross it, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a taxpayer, so this is technically my camera. So, you know, and if I want to bash it off this pole, I can do so.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. My taxes paid for this like hit and rod.
Right. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and it's great. They've been just like ripping these things off the posts, and like I said, I'm proud of these guys for it because they have let their privacy just be devoured by inches.
My understanding is that, like, most people in Europe are not happy with American forms of social media at the moment. So, precisely because of that.
So go on. What do you mean?
Well, I don't know. Just all the restrictions they keep throwing on it. So, about data sharing and all kinds of different shit. So, this has been kind of going on for a little bit here. So, I mean, it's natural that eventually it'll be like, wait a minute, it's hooked up that fucking camera. I'm going to bash that thing down, you know? So, yeah.
I mean, frankly, I thought it would happen here first. I legitimately thought that in the United States we would have a wave of red light camera destruction
Really?
that has just not come to pass.
That's because I think people like the red light cameras because they catch assholes. So, you know, I mean, like, people bitch about drivers in this country.
Yeah.
Okay, but we all obey the rules. So, and if you, like, even that thing, well, if what that guy cuts me off is like, yeah, that's definitely rude as fuck, you know, kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, if the red light catches him, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
You know, so.
You're talking, okay, so the road is very unusual in that regard because you're right and you're wrong. Okay, and it's not that you're right and you're wrong. It's just that the rules that we agree to aren't necessarily the rules that you'll find in the book, right?
No, they're not.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, if I'm going to sit there and say, like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and drive on this road. It's only 2 lanes.
Right.
Okay, I'm on a 2-lane highway.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I should be well within my right to drive 75 in the right-hand lane if it's 75.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. But you and I both know that will aggravate people. There is an expectation that
You're going to do 80.
do 80.
Yeah.
Right.
So you do 80. Or you let the guy around. So
Well, okay, and it depends on the traffic there, but there's
Sure.
again, it's like, okay, you just doing the speed limit is not quite enough.
no, you're expected to kick. You're expected to kick it maybe a notch or two above that, but you're not expected to drive 15 miles an hour over the speed limit. That's the guy who blows by you on the highway. Is like, yeah, go find the police for me, man.
And that's
So, yeah,
right. And there's a component of that where you're like, well, 5 is okay, 15 and you're a fucking lunatic.
You're a lunatic. Yeah,
Right.
So yeah,
And if I'm doing 75 and you're doing 75, you are suspicious.
can be.
If you're side by side with me,
Oh, if you're on my side panel, yeah. What the fuck are you
exactly.
checking out?
It's like,
Stop
why are
that.
you going to my
Same
exact
thing, you don't
get out of
ride
my
someone's-
bathtub, you geek.
Yeah. exactly.
Sorry, that's old.
It's old.
That's old swing terminology. Yeah.
Well, the same thing when someone's just riding your corner panel. So, you know.
Yeah, why?
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 Get the fuck off my corner panel. Come around if you're going to come around.
Yeah.
The only time that's okay is when you're on a, 5-lane highway and it's fucking busy as shit, and then nobody cares. So, but
Be
yeah.
wherever. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, that I can point it out to you. There is. What do you pass? What is the part where you pass? It's in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
You're headed south, and it's just like once you pass these streets, it just feels like there's four lanes open.
Oh, coming south?
Yes.
Probably right around Arapahoe.
I feel like right there, no matter what it's like, you get the open stretch right there,
yeah.
and it doesn't matter who's going what speed
Uh-uh.
because you'll find your way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Well, I mean, we kind of have that here. So once you get down past, I'd say Circle, when it goes back down to 2 lanes, then it's like okay, it's track speed now, man. So yeah, so nobody's getting off anymore, you know, kind of thing.
Right.
So, you know, yeah, there's not gonna be any backups. or anything like that. So let's go. You know.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing about the red light cameras is like, so first of all, we didn't go bananas on the red light cameras. So even in this town, we got like 30 of them. Okay, but I guarantee you, like the ones that I know of where they are, they're in good spots because it's like, yeah, I see assholes around here all the time. So, you know, they're actually using like, oh, okay, so we've had 3 kids run over here in the last like 5 years. Let's put one of these things up now. You know? So, you know, but then there's other things like this one right out here, man. I wish they would put one on there that catch people who keep burning through the left-hand turn light over there. So it's like, no, motherfucker, you're coming down a Target there trying to turn south, and it's always like 3 or 4 cars that burn the light in order to get down. It's like, wait, another rotation, asshole. So I hate that.
Wait, to go south?
Yeah, to go south. Yeah. Yeah. It's the worst spot in town for it that I know of. So
I don't know. I haven't been taking notes.
yeah,
I'm sure everybody has their own like personal pet area where they say like this is the most dangerous or anything like that. I guess I haven't seen it, but I'm also never going south from there.
yeah, but you would only notice it if you're going east. So
Right.
cross powers.
Exactly.
So yeah, I go that way all the time.
Okay,
Yeah.
because if I'm going to go south that direction, I just hang the right here.
Right. Yeah, no. And that's not a problem. But if I'm going straight east, people turning south there, there's always like, especially if it's, you know, middle of the afternoon and everybody's got to stop at Target. Yeah, I know. So it's like, my God, it's an extra rotation. It's like, I mean, you ever sit down and do like the time, like a stoplight rotation? It's like a minute. Yeah, it's a lot less than you think it is.
Yeah, but there's minutes and then there's minutes. It's minutes that you're aware of. Again, it's like watching water boil. It's
true.
It has it's like Chinese water torture. It's messing with you.
Which I hear is actually bullshit. So I did hear that.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, this is just another Sun Tzu dirty trick. So,
Bro, look, I'm hearing that I was shocked to read that a number of things that I thought were actual tortures were not actually tortures.
like what?
Like certain things where like they talk about like the pair of anguish. So it's like,
Oh, that thing they stick in your butthole? Yeah.
or your mouth.
Or your mouth. Yeah. And then it opens up.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm hearing that's kind of bullshit.
Oh.
You know, so I mean, it's the same. Like I've heard things of where, like, tell me if there's one supposedly on an island where they'll bury you in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they'll force your mouth open, and all the ladies will piss in your mouth until you drown.
I've never heard of that. So I've heard of them like burying you in the sand and then like covering your face in honey. So
That's fucked up.
yeah. So yeah, the crowd's coming for you, man. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
all right. You got me there. Yeah, but I'm hearing some of these things aren't quite, as frequent as they look. Yeah. I mean, there were things where I'm like, you look at like the breaking wheel. I'm like, this is fucked up.
That actually happened a lot.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And crucifixion actually is just like, boy, this really sucks. And you did it a lot.
Yeah, no.
You did a lot.
A lot. Yeah, wasn't it Pompey who crucified Spartacus's entire army?
What was it? Made a line to Damascus.
To Damascus, yeah, or whatever it was. Yeah.
Put them up like fucking mile markers and people.
Is this 117 south? No, man, you're going north. Thanks. No problem.
I'm gonna die now.
I'm gonna die now.
Right, thanks, man. This is the weird shit that kind of gets to me. Is like, all right, so society's pretty good. You don't want to live in any period that's not this one.
No.
And on top of that, this is the thing that always gets to me here too, is like, there were so fewer people then.
Yeah.
And to basically throw around life so callously in this regard, it seems so detrimental to society. It's like, how the fuck do you guys get anything done?
Yeah, it does. It shocks me, like, when you see the population numbers, and we're getting close to, what, like 8 billion now or something like that? And I remember as a kid when we hit like 4 billion, everybody's like, oh my God, the world's going to be a swamp.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
going to be so awful. And now you actually look at a lot of the population projections, and then you go, like, even if you're driving around kind of in the country, you kind of see what depopulation actually looks like in real life. And it's kind of scary, man.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this is a pretty cool place. But then you see rusty swing sets and shit like that. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, yeah, there's just this, like, I mean, you and I have been alive at this point in time where there's been, like, double the amount of people on the face of the planet.
Yes.
So, in living memory, and we're going to live to see it actually start going down again, man. It's going to be weird. So,
Well, this is the wacky thing is, yeah, I just remember just, and you can testify to this here too. Like one of the things that I have, it's clearly not a fond memory. This is just like some of the stupid shit that they used to do. Is I remember that on ABC one night, and I think it replaced one of the shows on the TGIF lineup where they took the people from those shows, and they were talking about ecological things, and they were talking about saving the environment and all this other stuff. And
save the dolphins.
and this must have been in like 1992, 91, something like that. And this is the thing that I remember famously. This is like Bob Saget was in the bathroom, and he says like, okay, so here's a trick that you can do like when you're going to take a shower, because the water's not hot right away, right? He's like, so what you can do here is get a bucket, right? And so when you turn on the water, turn it on hot, but it's not going to be hot right away. So you put the bucket there and you catch the cold water, right? And if you do this, like, you're going to save like half a gallon like every shower. Over. Why are you making that face?
It's like the same thing. You're not saving water, man. You're just like, it goes down the drain, and for a reason, it's got to go back to the ocean eventually, man. And that's how it gets there. And there's always a couple stupid things, like saving water was just one of them. It was like, it's not a waste. So it was like, if you take a bucket of water, put a lid on it, and throw it in the landfill, then it's a waste. So right. I'm not doing that. I'm putting it where it's supposed to go. So
No, you don't understand how sewers work. Is like
Right.
once the water goes, down to the tube,
Yeah.
it actually gets funneled right out into space.
They didn't even remove the poo.
It's the only safe way to get rid of it. But this is the thing
It's
is,
so ridiculous.
back in the day, that's when they were like, you'd see these shows and they would talk about overpopulation. They would always be like harping on this where
Thomas Malthus. Yeah.
yes, yeah. And it's just
Soylent Green. It's people. Yeah.
this
I know.
constant thing where they were talking about like, oh, we don't have enough food to feed these people. Like, yeah, you do.
Oh yeah.
You actually do.
Oh yeah, we got more than enough food. In fact, yeah, I mean, there's like so many famous studies out there about how much food gets thrown out at grocery stores in the United States.
yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly good. I'm sorry, that orange has a little bit of brown on the outside. That's actually normal. It's just like, oh, ew, kind of thing. And so, you throw that out, it gets turned into pulp or fertilizer or whatever. And then, so like, even I was having this debate kind of with my wife and my daughter a couple of weeks ago about like recycling plastics. I was like, stop doing that. Just throw them out. So, kind of thing. It's like, because, all you have to do is just a little bit of cursory research, and you realize that, like, all the plastic in the ocean, like, 90% of it comes from one place. So,
Here.
the Philippines.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why the Philippines?
I don't know, man. So, it's just like, it's part of the culture. There's islands everywhere. They're all beautiful. So just huck it over there. And so they've done all these studies looking at plastics all over the world. And a ton of it comes from the Philippines. Now, some of that is also due to the fact that, so like New York City famously for years was exporting this garbage to fucking China. Well, the garbage never showed up in China. Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. It was like, wow, it's usually takes people 4 weeks to get there and back. You guys made it in 3 days. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, the newspapers got delivered.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, but it's just one of these things. And like, the real way that you actually do those things is you take out the types of plastics that can't be recycled. And so now, like when you and I were growing up, you'd have like, the Coke bottle that was basically a weapon. You know, if
Oh,
you,
the glass one?
no, the plastic one. So it's basically a weapon if you filled it up and put it in the freezer or something like that. You know, it wouldn't break or anything like that. But now, like every water bottle,
Oh, the hard
it's-
plastic. Okay,
oh,
yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So they're so flimsy you could rip them open with your bare hands sometimes, man. And that stuff biodegrades. And so, you know, if you do the changes on kind of that level, then okay, it has this really big impact, and that's why we weren't number one on that list. So,
Well, this is the other thing that I read about here when it comes to like plastic recycling is, when they talk about bottles and stuff, they pointed out, it's like, they're right. It's like, this is actually kind of bullshit because it's the plastic recycling thing. It starts at the manufacturer, and
Yeah.
that's a decision they make.
yep.
And then they turn around and say like, well, actually, the decision is on you what to do with it. It's
Yeah.
like, well, no, you don't have to put them in these things,
No.
right? That's sort of the thing here is you've decided that you're going to do this, and then say, well, actually, it's on you guys.
I know. They always turn it on you, you filthy fucking consumers. You know, with your ding dogs and your your fucking SUVs and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, you guys are the problem. So actually, you know what? Not really that big of a problem. You know, I mean, you guys, carting around in like fucking private jets. Now that's actually a problem. So and that's a well documented
That's
problem.
a well documented problem. No, so yeah, this is the same thing. Like, so again, with the things that I can understand, like when they turn around and say like, all right, well, look at what these straws did to these fucking turtles. I'm like, you know what? No problem. All right, I can do
It turned out
that.
to be bullshit.
Well, it turned out to be bullshit, but I was like, all right, I got it. I can at least understand that, right? Because it's harming the wildlife. Fucking like the same thing on that same show where Bob Saget was like, put this, water in here, and if you do this, you'll stave off overpopulation for another 6 days.
We'll have to eat one less child. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a thing where they would every single time. That was when people were like, you have to clip up these soda rings. You have to.
See, I still do that out of habit.
I do too.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I don't. I just I give it a pull.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm never around scissors. And the other thing too is like, they just sell them in the box now. So I mean,
Yeah, no, I still get Gatorades, and so they come in
Oh,
a
okay.
pretty beefy like set of those things. Or else I'll go buy like a 6-pack of beer, although I haven't done that in a long time. It's just old habit, man. I'll always chop that motherfucker up. So, but
and I have no problem with that because they're like, well, fish get caught in these. I'm like, you know what? That's no problem.
Yeah, no problem.
Then the other part of me says like, well, why are they getting caught in there? It's like, that's not trash.
it's not trash. Why are there fish in the dump? Yeah. Should we be eating those? Yeah,
That's the other
yeah.
question was like, why are you assholes just throwing this in the water?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, and so like I said, because we were big on like separating out that shit for years, and then yeah, just a couple things that I saw, I was like, oh wait a minute, that's bullshit. I was like, well, that sucks. So the fuck's been lying to me about this for this long, you assholes? The same thing's true with like climate change in some respects. It's still a thing, whatever. It's not going to be near as bad as people think it is. So, yeah, I mean, all you have to do is look at the data. So, I mean, what really convinced me on that was the hurricane data. So, because I used to play that fucking Al Gore movie in my class, back in the day.
Yeah.
It was like, oh yeah, Katrina was terrible, blah, blah, blah. But then you go back and you look, okay, we've got almost 20 years of data now. And the strength and frequency of hurricanes is lower than it was before. And it's like, huh, got it.
Lower if you're not going to go, virtually unchanged. But yeah,
Exactly.
it is.
Yeah, you could say it's noise. You could say it's just noise. In the data.
Yeah.
That's fine. So it's like, obviously this isn't the problem. So, the same thing. I mean, if you're actually concerned about it, I mean, I remember growing up, all right, and driving up to Denver. You come over the hill, and it was L.A., Yes. And now you go up there, it's rare when you see that. It's got to be a cold day where there's a lot of inversion, and it's got to be on Monday morning where everybody's got to get back to work, and yeah, you might see some smog. Okay, but like here, I've seen so many people say, oh, it's smog downtown. I was like, no, that's steam coming off a power plant, idiot. So it's water. So, you can go breathe that. It might clear out your sinuses a little bit, yeah.
you're made of that, dickhead.
Right, yeah, exactly.
It's stuck in between the semi-permeable
Right, yeah.
membrane called your skin. Yeah, it's and the brown cloud around Denver, how did they handle that?
Just through better emissions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. They said, well, you know what would be a good idea if we actually got all cars so that they don't run on leaded gasoline. So that was number one. And number two was like, so we've had this thing called a catalytic converter for years. So, but it wasn't mandatory in a lot of cars. So why don't we mandate that? And then, it was the same thing. It's like, well, 5 years later, everybody had a car like that. And then I remember living in Denver the year when they actually stopped doing emissions testing. So they were like, you don't need to do it anymore unless you have some kind of fucking coal burning motherfucker.
And then you know better.
And then you know better.
Course,
Yeah, exactly. So
comes with the territory, yeah.
But it was definitely, it's like, oh, well, that's nice. And it looks nice here. Cool. Holy shit, that wasn't hard.
Dude, I mean, this is the thing is just like small experiments that you can do, like when you learn, like, oh wait, I can't smoke in the house. Why?
Right.
Because I can see what it's doing to the walls.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
Right.
There's nicotine on my table. Yeah. I've been to many bars where it's like, oh, that's not varnish, is it?
No. And like, all right, I get it. And yeah, if you look there and say like, all right, well, what if you were to reduce, cigarette emissions by,
Right.
99%?
Yeah.
You would barely notice.
Yeah.
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 And yeah, that's just, again, that's been my whole, thesis, that my whole like mission statement when it comes to climate change is like, you know what, I can't guarantee you what this, the results are going to be, but what I can say is anything that you can do cleaner, do it cleaner.
Yeah, sure.
This is where the fucking eat the bugs mentality, right?
I can't stand that.
Is you can go fuck yourself. That's never gonna
Exactly.
happen.
It's never gonna happen.
And it's just shut up. But I mean, the thing on this, like when you get into the bottom line is when it comes to the development of the human race, you never take a step back. You never take a step back and say like, well, guess I'm shitting outdoors again. Right? No, it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work that way.
And if you cannot maintain or improve the quality of life, right? If there is something where they're like, well, okay, well, we've got carbon in the atmosphere. It's like we have to, like, sorry, cars are gone. You got to walk. It's like, no, that's not going to work.
That's not going to work.
You're going to have to, like, find a way to extract it. It's not.
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, with like electric cars, some of the jury's actually coming in on that stuff now. And it's just like, okay, they're great. They're a lot of fun to drive. All right, so I've never met someone who drove one and didn't, love it on a certain level.
So look, there are people out there who enjoy like racing that are like, no, this is awesome.
Oh, it's
this
way
is,
better.
this is fucking sweet.
It's heavy and you got all the acceleration in the world. Like my brother's car, when I ride in it, man, it's like a rocket ship. It's amazing. So, but I mean, it's not the climate issue that's the thing. I mean, because the batteries take fucking more carbon to produce than the lifetime of a modern car, gas powered car, will actually put out. And so it's like, oh, okay, so, California, okay, we're going to go to all electric cars by 2040. It's like, I'm going to lose a lot of dudes.
You're going to lose a lot of dudes.
We're actually, no, a lot of you guys are going to lose your jobs and they're going to vote that down. So they're going to repeal that,
Well, I mean, and look, if you do stick with it, then ultimately the question on you is like, all right, so how are you going to charge all these things? This is what you said your father-in-law told you. It's like, the grid can't support this.
No, he's emphatic about that. So he's like, I built the grid around here. That's absolutely positively not going to happen. So he's not without, thousands and thousands of miles of more electrical wire. So if you actually try and head, because I don't know what it is, it's bigger than a 240 that you need in order to charge that. So it's like basically having another fucking dryer in your house. Yeah. Or stove. It's not cheap. So... And like even my brother in his brand new fucking house, he had to get a new panel right off the bat. So in order to charge his car. So, that's expensive. So a lot of people are just kind of like, what? What's happening more so than anything else is like families like mine, and this is even true with some of my colleagues, they've kind of figured it out. It's like, well, do we really need two cars, anymore? So, because I work half the week from home and so do you. So...
Dude,
You
that,
know?
I would argue, has probably done more to help climate change than anything
Oh, it
else.
clearly did. So there was like years, like during the actual COVID pandemic, where they were actually locking down LA. There were people who were like, I've never seen the ocean. I can see it from my house. It's like, there's mountains around here.
Yeah. I mean, this is a bit like. I understand why businesses don't want to do this. I understand why there's still like fights at like Facebook. It's like, you guys are coming to work or we're gonna lock you out or whatever. It's like, this has been over for a while. I'm like,
It's
you
been
guys
over
are still
for a
having
while.
this fight? But I mean, when you think about it, you say like, all right, so I care about the climate. We have Wi-Fi everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Right? Anything that you could have done without traveling
Yeah.
should have been done without traveling.
Yeah.
Right? And
Look, man, it's just going to come down to it. There's going to be a lot of jobs that are not going to be like teaching is never going to be the same. So it really isn't, because you're always going to have an option of how to do it. Now, all right. So if little Timmy needs to go and sit on his hands in fucking kindergarten class, you send him. Okay. If little Susie is just fine learning math, 2 days a week at home, she's going to be able to do that. And it's gonna be that. So that one's gonna be forever the same. Like there's even other ones that are just like traditional services that are, I can tell you, like I have done so many changes to my insurance policies over the last couple of years.
oh yeah,
I haven't been in the office once. I haven't even met the lady who does it. So and I still use a traditional old agency. So, but she's like, yeah, no, if you need anything, just give me a call. So it's like, oh, okay. Whereas before it was like, oh, we need to come in and have some donuts and let's learn about your life goals, And now they're like, oh, you can't do this on the app. And it's like, no, won't let me. I was like, okay, I'll take care of it for you. It's like, thanks. And it's completely different than it used to be. Even all this medical shit that I've been going through lately, man. So, like all the paperwork, you fill it out online now. And, it's like, okay, you do all the scheduling on their app and everything. And it's like, well, normally this would be a pre-appointment. I don't even have to go there for this. It's awesome. I just show up and say, "Here, cut me open." So, but and like, there's going to be a lot of industries that are like that. Like my wife's figuring that out in law, where it's like, yeah, you know what? Actually, I don't need to come into the office anymore. So, if we can do this via Zoom, and you got a transcriptionist here, cool, we're good. So.
that's all the depots are done. I mean, that's my job. I
Totally.
mean, this is the. I mean, and I'm not saying that this stuff is not without its hazards or anything like that, and I'm not saying that a completely faceless society is what we're looking for. No touch. I mean, frankly, it used to bother me like when I go into the bank, right?
Yeah.
And I remember like you'd see people there, and there's a person dedicated to getting you to not go to the teller. It's like, can't you do this at the ATM?
Oh yeah, like they had the concierge there who was like, yeah, what are you looking to do today? I need to make a withdrawal. They'd be like, well, you can use our ATM right here. Yeah. That used to piss me off too.
It's like, wait, you're actually like, you could be working. Like there's like 10 of us, and there's like 2 empty booths over there.
Yeah.
You could waddle around to that side and say next in line, and actually I can do the math for you. Say like, if we have this many customers, right, and this many apples, if you do this, how many minutes will it take to eat all of them? So if you get over there, right, that's not a problem, right? But yeah, the fact that you were working the line to say like, why don't you not, do this here?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they used to bother me. It's the same thing that like at the grocery store, like.
Oh yeah, to come to our self-checkout.
If you have 10 things, it's not a problem. If you have 25 things,
they're gonna
just
do it way
fucking
faster.
ring it up here, because it's.
They're gonna do it faster. They're gonna bag it in a way that's not retarded, which is the way that you and I are going to do it.
Well, that's correct. And of course, I'm gonna be sitting there like looking at the machine. I'm gonna put things on here. Then I'm gonna put it in, and it's gonna say, please remove item from the thing.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. Then I tell you, it's like, please place the item in the bag. And I'm gonna do it. And it's gonna remove it, and then I'm just gonna make a face. Then I'm gonna be like, I did.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you think I'm doing? Right? I know that people are ripping these things off,
Yeah.
but I'm not.
Yeah, so the grocery store one's always I always avoid it like the plague whenever I go to the grocery store. I'll always go to whatever, even if there's like 2 or 3 people in line. I'll just go and
Yes.
I'll look at the candy and you know what's left of the rags on the Mac. I don't know
Oh
rags,
yeah.
you know, kind of thing, just because it's kind of like comforting. But anyway,
Yeah.
so but like other places, I go to Home Depot. I'll never go to fucking checkout line again.
Oh,
Because
no, absolutely not.
like you never go to Home Depot and buy like 50 fucking things. You buy like two, and so yeah,
Unless you're buying 50 things and then you go see
then
the.
you go see the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense in some situations. But you know, like I mean, so I can tell you with like a lot of my students, they don't want to work in you know completely remote work like organizations anymore.
No, how are you going to find a wife?
Well, how are you going to do that? How are you going to build a reputation? I mean, you want to get out and actually do shit and actually like learn things and stuff. So I think there's going to be like this, like what you've built and what I've kind of built in some respects. Like I'm going back to the actual classroom because, okay, before if I had 2 classes, 3 classes a week, I was still in the office 4 days a week.
Yeah,
Okay, so because
yeah.
they get all my office hours in on one day. Now it's like fuck that. So like all my office hours, appointments. So you just make an appointment. Here's my fucking calendar. Punch it in there. I'll look at it every single day. So if I got time for you, we'll make it happen. Otherwise, I'll definitely be on between now and then. So just hop on. So here's the link. So it's on. So come on by. You know, so I can do a lot of my job, except for the classroom part, at home now. And before, it was kind of like expected. Nah, you don't do it that way. You know, it's the 9 to 5 kind of gig. It's 5 o'clock. You're done for the day. So come in, sit in your office, do your grading, you know, chit chat, go down and fuck around with guys at the coffee machine, whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah. Open up your lunchbox.
Exactly.
You know, have that thermos, eat
Right, yeah.
that sandwich and that bag of chips, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And now it's just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to be here. So nobody else is here anymore. So, I mean, the place is a goddamn ghost town. So, you know, and it's like, okay, that's great. So,
Well, and what's I think is amazing about this, right, is that it goes back to that cake. It goes back to that cake thing where yes, you voted this the most popular cake, but this cake is gone.
right. Yeah, exactly. Who wanted the fucking coconut? Nobody's eating the coconut, you know?
But you guys rated it number one.
Right.
Okay, so y'all are fucking food critics. Is that what happened? You know, and that's the thing is, then you look at it and say like, well, who's actually at the opposite? The answer is nobody. So when it comes down to it, people didn't want that.
No.
As soon as they were posed with an opportunity where they could make that happen, they took it.
Yeah. There are some people who are kind of diehard about it.
Sure.
You know, but I'm going to tell you, they're all within 5 to 6 years of retirement.
Absolutely.
And so, hey man, if I had been doing this for 30 years and all of a sudden it got, I mean, I know there are people on my, in like my near work group who, as soon as COVID hit, they're like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm done. So this is,
And that, yeah.
this is not, this teaching on Zoom is balls. You know, I miss the collegiality, university, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And there's guys like me that's like, wait a minute, my job's way easier to do if I'm not fucking around.
Well, and on top of that too, like you have that perspective of like you could probably look at some people and say like, all right, I get what you're coming from. It's like you live right down that corner.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
No, not a problem.
I'm coming from another fucking city.
Yeah, I live somewhere else. So, yeah.
So that does make a difference.
It makes a big difference.
Because yeah, if it was just like from here to like the 7-Eleven, right? No problem.
Not a
In fact,
big
I
deal.
go in there more often. Yeah, look, and this is if you're talking about that old generation. Yes, I know that there are a lot of guys working 45 to 60 hours because that's what stops them from getting fucking divorced.
Or something.
Right.
Or it's just a habit at that point in
Yeah.
time where that's just the way that you kind of like judge it. And I mean, so yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to have students who are going to kind of go in one of those two paths. They're going to go back to the corporate office thing and they'll be there every single fucking day. They'll build their careers. But then I do have quite a few who are doing kind of like what you and I have done, where it's like, no, actually, you know what? I'm going to stitch together like 2 or 3 things and see which one actually takes off. So, you know, and once I find one that takes off, boom, that's what I'm going to do. You know, and it's, you know, that's great too, man, because there's opportunities to do either one. So, you know, and like the job market is still bananas. So it's just absolutely crazy right now. Some of the opportunities I see my students get, it's like, motherfucker, it took me like 10 years to make that.
Well, you and I were actively waiting for people to die. I'm sorry.
It's
like,
different when they actually die.
yeah. Well, I mean that was when you talk about that hopeless generation, you're talking about like the ones just right before us that didn't see opportunities come up because they were still packed.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Especially the people who got fucking they got butt fucked because of 2008, where they're like, this should have been my time to get in,
But yeah,
this guy's not going to retire for another 10 years to recoup his losses.
yeah, because his house is worth half what it was last year. Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely saw some of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there are some people who got fucked by that. So,
They did. But,
yeah, no, I have people now, they complain, "Oh, I can't get a job." It's like, what's wrong with you?
oh, this fucking asshole.
What is wrong with you, man?
This fucking dickhead. I mean, this was something that, that I saw on Twitter. This one fucking jackass. So there's this clip in Ant-Man where Paul Rudd is working at, he's working at Baskin Robbins, right? Now, he's saying, the joke is he's like, well, I'm an electrical engineer, but I work at Baskin Robbins, right?
But then you suck as an electrical engineer.
Well, this is the thing. The reason that he's there is because he went to prison, right?
Okay.
Because he went to prison. It's a redemption story. And some dickhead was like, well, the most realistic thing about this is EE's working at Baskin Robbins. Like, actually, if you can't get a job doing that,
Yeah.
the problem is you.
Yeah, the problem is you, and you man, where did you go to school? It's like fucking America Samoa. It's just like Saul Goodman or something. Come on, man. So,
Well, no, it likely comes from the fact that anytime somebody approaches you with like, you really fucked this up, you start slapping your ears.
oh yeah,
And
yeah, you're just a dick.
and rubbing your face on the desk. It's
Yeah.
like, well, I can't fire him because he clearly has problems,
Oh yeah.
right? But yeah, if you can't find a job with those kind of credentials right now, like, you suck. You are the one that sucks.
You're the problem. The problem is you. Yeah.
You are terrible.
So, and it's one of those triad things. It's like, well, I can't work on Sundays. It's like, oh, okay, fine. It's like, well, I can't drive more than 10 miles away from that. There's a problem. So it was like, or, I need every other weekend off, kind of, it's like, okay, you're the problem. Don't be sitting here telling me that, it's the economy or the fucking government or the nation or the older generations or whatever that's fucking...
These fucking boomers. There's the fucking Nazis everywhere.
No, it's the fucking problem is you. It's totally you, man. So I was like, well, the rent control. So, trying to get young. There's two ways to destroy a city. One is with rent control, and the other is with nuclear weapons. They're equally effective.
Never realized just how problematic rent control really is.
It's so awful. It's so
If
terrible.
you think about it, it's like, when you get down to the principle of it, you're like, what was this intending to solve? What was the good-hearted nature of this?
This is coming from the guy who raised my dad. He lived in a rent control apartment in Manhattan for 40 years.
Yeah.
It was huge.
Yes.
It was enormous. So they turned it into like 5 apartments when he was done. So the only thing, and I mean, he knew what kind of good deal he had, but he was a World War II vet, so he was like, yeah, I'm going to live here. So, and if they're going to pay me to, like, keep my rent low, I'm going to go work my ass off. And he worked as a cook, a chef, So nowadays, yeah, I get it. If you want to live in an apartment like that in Manhattan, you better fucking sling, like, cocaine or something. And I'm sorry it doesn't work out that way. But maybe if more people didn't live there, then it wouldn't be a problem. So,
Well, yeah, it's the same. It's like, so you have this big place, and it's you're paying sub $1,000, right? But the place over there, like right next to it, where it has been subdivided into 5 things, those guys have 5 people living on top of each other.
Yeah.
It's like, but you have this.
yeah.
Because you bought it this time.
Yeah. Well,
And this person has this because their relative bought it at this time.
right, yeah. So
So you're just doing this perpetuity.
in perpetuity, yeah. So and it's like,
So to make up for it,
yeah.
people have to pay $5,000 on average
Yeah.
to live here.
Yeah. No, it's just all envy, man. That's all it is. It's just fucking envy. You know, it's like all that rent control is. It's like, what do you mean I have to work my ass off in order to get the same thing that you did? It's like, sorry, kid, you weren't here when that happened. So, you know, there's tons of other opportunities out to go find one. So, you know, so stop being jealous over mine. Fuck off.
Well, look, it's the other thing, like with all those other services, where it's like, look, I understand. So when this guy got on, it was 20 years to get full benefits, right? That was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
People live 15 years longer. So we have to raise it for you 5 years to pay for those guys.
Well, yeah, otherwise the whole thing falls apart, you know? There's so many fucking things like that, man. So it's just like, dude, there's always a train leaving the station. Go catch that one. Don't cry over the one you missed. So, you know.
Or write it out.
That's fine. Yeah. Write it out. Yeah, no, the same thing. All these guys with the unions and stuff. It's like, man, none of you fuckers have worked for a union. All right, the minute that one of you says that a union's a great thing, it's like, all right, man, I want you to do graveyard shift for the next 15 years. Just to fucking sniff a weekend off. All right? So there you go. Are you willing to do that? Well, no, that sucks. And it's like, yeah, that guy did it. So don't be jealous about what he's got, because he put in those fucking 15 years with Tuesday, Wednesday off on graveyard shift before he could hold a swing shift the weekend off. So, and yeah, I know that guy's really grouchy about it, and so the last thing I would do is complain to him. So,
you know why he's grouchy?
Because he did 15 years on graveyard shift.
Well, and that's the other thing. Is like, because the shift he wants, he can't get. Why? Because that guy got here one afternoon before he did.
Yeah, exactly. And he's got it now. So,
and he doesn't work as hard.
I know. I've seen so many people talk about like, oh, well, the NLRB stuff will get undone if Donald Trump gets back in there. It's like, you don't give a shit about that. So, quite honestly, the thing that's going to undo that is a better job for you somewhere. So,
all right, we are well into the weeds. Yeah.
So yeah, we're at $1.45.
Yeah, and I work for the worst union on the planet. The one that had no teeth.
It's not even a union, so it's like a club. You know, a voluntary membership club. You know?
In name only, yes.
In name only.
There was now. Don't get me wrong. There was representation.
Right.
But
yeah. Anyway, all right. I'm Pat.
Jeffrey.
I'm hitting a button.
Rent control.
Rent control and nuclear weapons.